And my next guest has been on a whirlwind tour promoting, well, no, writing his book, which is going to hit the shops very soon. He's promised me a copy, seeing as how I found him in the recesses of a little chef and have rebuilt his entire career. The former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons and the Conservative MP, ex of Ribble Valley. We love him. He's called Nigel Evans. Oh, God, where are you today? What's that wallpaper, man?
Don't. This is possibly one of the worst hotel rooms I've ever since I started this world tour. I'm in Stockholm. Welcome to
Are
Sweden.
you? I'm sorry, Nudge. You and I know each other well. That looks like a dodgy den of some kind. I'm not going into it. It looks very dark and very salubrious. I like the way you did this. I like the way you did this. As if you don't know who's there. Good afternoon, my friend. I'm going to obviously start with Farage. You've been very vocal in the last few months on this show. We love having you on. We appreciate your time. He quite rightly yesterday talks about how our country's on the brink of societal collapse. He talks about lawlessness. He makes a promise to halve crime in 5 years. He talks about 30,000 new police officers, the end of early release. Brilliant for violent criminals. You know, 3 strikes and you're in prison. Zero tolerance, you know, people deported who are foreign criminals. All those sorts of things that, and you know what I'm going to say? Your party used to talk about, and it didn't talk about it in the last few years of power. It was done up with changing its leader and talking about net zero. Now, of course, the critics, I had Matt Vickers on straight in. Oh, it sounds like it's written on the back of a fag paper. I'll tell you the difference between Farage and every other political leader right now, Nigel, and I'd love your opinion, is you can argue about the costing. He is talking about the things that the British people are concerned about. Law and order, defence and migration. It's not difficult, is it?
No, it's not. And if you were to press me now on what our policies are on law and order, I'd find it quite difficult to enumerate it, because it's not as if I've got just a passing interest in politics. I was in the House of Commons for 32 years, and part of the problem is that since Nigel Farage made his launch yesterday, just having people pick holes in it and just say, well, it's done, as you say, on the back of a fag packet, or he's not properly costed it out, or it won't work. But the fact is, he is talking about issues that normal people talk about.
Yep.
You know, I've had my mobile phone stolen out of my hand. I had a mate of mine had his phone stolen out of his hand. They're all ending up in shops, or they basically are being sold on. Over 200 phones stolen every day. And people are fed up with it. I got a mate up in Clitheroe who's got a shop. He had shoplifters come in. They don't surreptitiously steal things anymore. And you can see on footage that you're looking at there, people come in, brazenly take stuff off the shelves and walk out with them. And the police say they're too busy to come and investigate, even though there's closed circuit TV. No, the whole thing is rotten to the core. It's been allowed to degenerate over many, many years. And quite frankly, you've got to do something about it, because people don't want to live in a society like that.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. Peter Blexley is always on this station, and I love him. Like, honestly, I think he's amazing. He always says that policing has changed. It's all about career now and the greasy pole, and he feels sorry for the men and women on the street whose hands are almost tied. But as he says, you know, unless you put men and women on the streets to get intel within the local communities, that's how you deal with it. Now, and you listen, you're great, you're honest with me. This started with bloody Theresa May. I don't care what anybody tells me, and I'm not blaming just Starmer, he's part of the problem, but this started under the Tories. And same as I feel about defence, it was almost like the two things that for me are massively, massively important for any society. A strong military so you can defend yourself, and a society of law and order to make sure your people understand the rules and behave themselves, was stripped bare by the Tories, starting with Theresa May, and it's come back to bite us, hasn't it? But how can you listen to a Labour politician today tell me, and I quote, 17 billion, where's Farage getting that from? And the simple answer to that is, you gave 16 billion to Mauritius with the Chagos Islands, you idiots.
That's right. And also, Rachel Reeves is spending £111 billion a year on interest because she's having to borrow huge sums of money.
Yeah.
Because she can't get a grip of spending within her own, by her own government. So, no, they've got money to spend on that, but they haven't got money on the bread and butter issues that people want to see their taxes spent on, which is proper policing. Now, I'll give you one example, right? When I was in the House of Commons, I used to walk across the bridge, Westminster Bridge, past several gangs of people who are doing which cup is the ball under, right? It's nothing more than a scam. It's close-up magic. There were, at its peak, 8 teams of 6 people who were basically conning tourists into pointing at where the ball was when it was actually in the hand of the person doing the trick. It's a close-up trick. It's within feet of where the Met headquarters are, and how often did I ever see a police officer there?
Yeah.
Basically arresting these people, because number one, you shouldn't be gambling on the bridge, but secondly, it's nothing more than theft of money from tourists. And I've seen footage of people, and listen, I myself have been pushed on that bridge when I've gone up and said to people, don't play, it's a scam. I've seen footage on social media of somebody being spat at because they were trying to film what was going on. And it's within feet of where the Metropolitan headquarters are. But no, they haven't got enough police officers to go out there and to sort out the crime that's being committed. People have had enough, Jeremy.
I completely agree, and much as I understand the people that will moan that his policies might, he says that he reckons they'll pay for themselves due to the cost of crime. It's the language people want to hear. Can I just also, just before we talk about housing and the Labour Party, Kemi Badenoch today has reshuffled her front bench team after a year. I don't know if she's still in the middle of a review. I don't know, because I'd have been on this Farage thing within 5 minutes, but nothing, just it's on the back of a fag packet. So James Cleverly, who many people thought would be the next leader, was I think, really done over in that election. I think it all went hopelessly wrong, and it even... I thought when I heard today he's coming back to the front bench, he was the Home Secretary, for Christ's sake. He's got a job on housing. This, to me, shows everything you need to know about Kemi Badenoch. What's that, keep your enemies close or something? It's ridiculous. I mean, he's got to be streets ahead of most of them. He should be in a more prominent role. But what do you make, just briefly, of her first year? I know you're a Tory, but you can't have been that impressed.
Not overly impressed, no, but I have to say she was picking up a pretty rotten ball. Let's be fair. Rishi Sunak, with his brain-dead decision to have the July general election announced in the pouring rain in Downing Street. He couldn't even get that right. After he had let everybody down as far as stopping the boats. Quite frankly, she's picked up an almost impossible baton to run with. But let's see where it goes. I'm really pleased that James is back in. He's a clever guy. He's smart on his feet, and of course the housing thing is one thing, and that is important as we talk maybe about Keir Starmer and his bizarre idea that there's enough housing to meet the needs of everybody flooding into the country, as well as those who actually were born here. But he's also going to be opposite Angela Rayner, so he's basically taking on the Deputy Prime Minister, and that seems to me the role that he's going to be filling.
Let me, before I talk about politicians, I want to take it to housing. Not housing, I want to take it, sorry, to the junior doctor strike. To me, it shows the naivety of West Streeting, and I'd say it to his face. You know, he arrived 3 weeks, we've got a deal, 23%. I couldn't at the time in my own head think, well, hold on a minute, nurses are only getting 5%. That doesn't resonate with me at all. Predictably, this very blatant union, the BMA, now wants even more. There are people texting me saying, what about the Hippocratic Oath? These people should be sacked. People like that shouldn't be able to strike. I'm all for people, earning money. But this, when you look at what's going on, is completely and utterly ludicrous. And these people are going to... And, some people will tune into these stations and go, oh, my God, you can't say it. People will die because of this 5-day strike. People with literally cancer survival treatment will miss out. People for life-saving operations. I think the BMA is a disgrace. I think this 5-day strike can... it's appalling, isn't it, Nigel?
Yes, it is appalling, and yes, people will die. There's no two ways about it. Operations will be cancelled, people's appointments will be cancelled, and people will die. It's got to be a fact. It's absolutely got to be a fact. And they should be told, quite frankly and straight, the negotiation's over. This is what you're going to get. This is the recommendation of the independent board that look into your salary. You got 23% last year. That was eye-watering, and that was paid for by Rachel Reeves having to borrow more money. And I've just said we're spending £111 billion a year on paying the interest on all the money that's been borrowed. And you can't carry on like this. You can't.
We've just actually had a response from the NHS to the announcement that resident doctor strike will go ahead on Friday. Professor Meghana Pandit, I hope I've got that right, the NHS England Co-National Medical Director, has just said that patients and clinicians from across the country will be extremely disappointed at the BMA Resident Doctors Committee's decision to press on with disruptive industrial action. This new round of strikes by resident doctors will no doubt be incredibly challenging for the NHS, and whilst local services are working extremely hard to minimise the impact for patients, as they always do, some disruption to the services is inevitable. I had, Nigel, a very interesting call. It was a woman who didn't want to give a name. Her daughter is a junior doctor, has to be part of the BMA, doesn't agree, doesn't want to strike, is happy with the salary and feels very bad for her patients. I took people back to Margaret Thatcher, who one of the greatest things she ever did was to destroy the closed shop. She created the closed shop, by the way, because you know this, because, of course, as I said earlier, in those days, Red Robbo, I remember him at Leyland. If he wanted to go on strike, he went all out, one out, and if you dared to disagree, somebody put a stone through your window or your wife was abused at the school gate, so you did what you were told. And Thatcher very simply said, you absolutely have a right to strike, but you also have a right to decide yourself. So go into a booth, place your vote, and we'll see what happens. And strikes in this country went down by 90%, didn't they, Nigel Evans? Maybe the BMA needs to be forced into the same situation. We need to find out whether these doctors are not just led by some militant, politically motivated people who probably look about 11 whenever I see them on television.
Yeah, people are disappointed. I think that's such an understatement as to how people feel about all of this. The fact is that I remember when we had that first vote on devolution, and they deemed it that if you didn't vote, it was that you weren't voting in favour of, so it counted against. And it should be exactly the same in this too, that they're going to do these secret ballots, if we're going to allow this to go ahead, and there's a part of me that says, if you're entering this profession, you don't strike. You simply don't strike. You have an independent body that's looking at your pay. You are able to make your case as to why you think you deserve more. They've gone back to 2008 and said, you know, we've lost out since then. Well, I got to say, a lot of people have lost out since then. A lot of people.
Maybe they should, mate. Maybe they should be like the police and the army. Maybe doctors, the Hippocratic Oath, shouldn't be able to strike.
Let's just review this. And what happened was, as soon as the Labour government got in, Wes Streeting caved in and he thought he was being clever. Well, how clever do you look now, Wes?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, Nudge. Just taking it back to the Labour Party. Today, I mean, there have been some low points in the last 12 months, but I just want to give you how I started the show. So it seems to me, and I thought Poppy Coburn from the Daily Telegraph made such a salient point about an hour ago when she said that there are many politicians in this country who think that if they just give out a soundbite, the British public will go, oh, they're dealing with it. I don't think the British public are that stupid anymore. So today our Ange has said, and I quote, ministers must accept the real concerns that British people have over immigration. Brilliant. You've been in power for a year. Rachel Thieves told a parliamentary committee earlier that companies should not always resort to the immigration lever to fill vacancies. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you brought that in. Oh, yeah. And to top it all, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Sir Keir Starmer, yesterday declared that there's lots of spare housing available for both illegal migrants and homeless British families. There's 1.3 million people on the social housing list, and this pillock in his manifesto said we need to build 1.5 million houses, and he hasn't built one. What is wrong with these people, Nigel Evans?
And since they came in, there's over, well, since the beginning of this year, never mind since they came in, 20,000 illegal immigrants have come in on small boats. Now, I suspect, Jeremy, there's not enough housing to fulfill those 20,000, never mind those who are already patiently waiting on a housing list. It's as simple as that. I don't know what he was thinking, and good on Meg Hillier for really pressing the point home and asking him, could you just tell us where these houses are, because there's none in my local authority. And I suspect there were a lot of local authority leaders who are thinking, what is he talking about? I mean, just because you say that there's going to be housing doesn't mean there's going to be housing.
But this is the point I want to make you, and you're an MP for 30 years. I think politics has changed. I've sat here for 3 years, and what I feel now more than I've ever felt is that the British people, there's cynicism about politicians. I think there is a degree of cynicism, but something's happened, and it's not. I think it's frustration, it's anger. It's just this realisation amongst the British people. I think that the quality of politicians, the messaging, the end product is not always brilliant. In fact, it would be fair to say has been very poor for quite a while. And I think that politicians who seriously have the belief that the British public are going to swallow a soundbite like they have in the past are in for a rude awakening. I think we are crying out in this country for honesty, transparency, flawed characters. Honestly, just appearance, you've got to be squeaky clean. No, rubbish. Tell the people what you think. Well, tell the people what you want to do, what you believe in. Do your damnedest. Look them in the eye. Tell them the good, the bad and the ugly. And if it doesn't work, get the hell out. But it might just work if you've got the courage and the will and the desire to do it. But I don't see that. I see, what is it? What are they called? Focus groups. People saying things because they've been told to. Nothing from here.
Well, I suspect the problem, Jeremy, is that Keir doesn't live in the same world that we do. As we saw from almost the very first week that he was in power, and the expose about how much money he was taking from Lord Ali for clothes and various other things. And then it all came out that he was staying in Lord Ali's apartment. Well, maybe that's where he's getting confused, that he thinks just because you pick up the phone to your mate, you've got accommodation, which he got, as you remember, for several weeks off his billionaire mate or multimillionaire mate, whatever he is. Yet most people can't do that. He's not living in the real world. It's as simple as that. And the vast majority of people are really fed up because they do live in the real world. People like the person that you spoke about, that her daughter is a junior doctor. She's very content with where she is and doesn't believe that you should be striking for 5 days, causing a heck of a disruption. For, what is it, 27% they're asking? I mean, these are surreal figures that the union are asking. This is not the real world. It just simply isn't. And you're all right. People have had enough, and they aren't going to take any more of sound bites. They want to see some action. And when Keir said that he was going to stop the boats, he said that during the election. What's happened? 20,000 have come in. He then said there's going to be no increase in local authority council bills. What happened? They went up 5%. I'm sorry, you can't say one thing and within a year have something else happening. And you're quite right to mention the Chagos Islands. Now, I heard you speaking to, was it Ryan from The Sun the other day?
Yeah.
The other moment, and him talking about Keir maybe wanting to have gone on holiday, hasn't been on holiday. I've got a good idea where he should go. Go to Mauritius, Keir. Go and have a couple of weeks in Mauritius and see the smiling faces of the people there who are now going to get a tax cut thanks to the British taxpayer and you giving all those billions in order to give away an island, the Chagos Islands, that we already owned. None of this adds up, and people have had enough. They really have.
You're absolutely right, and you've won the golden buzzer moment on today's show because we've just had a story handed to us which is absolutely fantastically appallingly, greatly, awfully wonderful. Do you remember the ex-union boss, Len McCluskey, the Unite boss? Do you remember him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been claimed today that Len McCluskey, that firebrand left-winger who hated anybody that was successful and anybody with money, enjoyed multiple private jet flights and football tickets arranged by the firm building a multi-million-pound hotel for the Unite Union. The Flanagan Group, which is run by friends and mates of McCluskey, overcharged Unite by at least 30 million for the Birmingham Hotel and Conference Centre project. It also found Mr McCluskey overruled advice from staff and the union's lawyers in signing that construction contract. Unite's own report said that private jet flights and football tickets were consistently organised and paid for by the Flanagan Group, and there is no indication that Mr McCluskey later reimbursed them. McCluskey's lawyers have told the BBC he paid for his own travel and, to his recollection, maybe some of the football tickets. He denies he's overruled staff or lawyers, and his lawyers are denying the whole story. But isn't it damn interesting? Isn't it interesting how the left wing who hate success, they hate people that make anything, they can always in the end be found out, can't they, Nige?
Well, it's pretty tragic, to be honest, and I think the big question mark, number one, was what this hotel thing was all about in the first place.
Yeah.
And the fact that it did make, was it 30 million over the odds that it otherwise should have done? All I think of in comparison is if it was a local authority that was doing this and they were in a similar situation, there would be a full inquiry. And if they were found to be taking any gifts off a developer, and I come from Swansea originally, Jeremy, and I can remember people going to prison for doing something similar, and not on as grand a scale, I can
It's
tell you.
insider trading, mate. That's what it is. It's insider trading.
So where's the full investigation going to come from? And that's what's absolutely going to be needed in this case. It's got to be microscopic, and it's got to be independent of the organisation itself. The other story.
But hold on. We haven't got a lot of time, but hold on. Aren't Unite the biggest supporters of the Labour government?
Well, I suspect the Keir won't be banging. Well, the real issue here as well, don't forget, is how many people, ordinary people up and down the country who are Unite members, who are having some of their salary siphoned off to pay for all of this.
Yep, absolutely.
Just think about that for a second. Ordinary people earning ordinary money, nothing like as much as Len was ever earning, and they're the ones who are now having to pick up the tab. Surely, I would have thought Keir Starmer would be banging the table now to say, no, we need a full investigation.
Somehow I think he won't. Nigel, I never, ever want to talk to you again in that hotel. Whereabouts are you, by the way? What country?
Stockholm.
Come home. We can't wait for the book. The legend that is Nigel Evans, former Deputy Leader of the House of Commons. No, what am I talking about? Deputy Speaker of the Commons. Top man.